All right, greetings everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Adam Verbeck, and I'm a product marketing manager for Intermedia Contact Center. Our subject today is customer experience, the new battlefield. Now, this is a fascinating topic because while we're obviously offering an extremely sophisticated cloud based product, the most crucial element is actually a human one. And that, of course, is the customer experience. So we think of customer experience as not only a new battlefield, but maybe the final battlefield in differentiation. And today, we're going to show you why. Joe Hairday, our director of CCAS marketing and my boss, will walk us through why customer experience is so critical. And then Andrew Boone, our senior manager of sales recruitment and our resident demo guru, is going to show you the how with a live, hands-on product session. Now, before we get started, just a few quick housekeeping items. If you look along the top of your screen there, you'll see a few icons. That emoji allows you to let us know how you're feeling during the webinar. Happy, hopefully not too sad. Laughter, applause, it's all right there. For Q&A, this is an important one, that little blue question icon. We certainly welcome questions during the presentation, but we'd ask you to use this Q&A feature rather than the chat feature at the left. And the reason for that is it allows us to gather questions and address them in a really structured, orderly way, and that helps us get to your questions more quickly. So we're going to answer questions after the end of the main presentations, and we'll collect them as we go and answer them all then. And finally, you can use that phone icon if you want to switch your audio mode. You can listen to the presentation via your phone. All right. Well, with that, I think that's it from me. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to you, Joe.
Thank you very much, Adam. Hey, everybody. Glad that you all can make it. We've had, some of you may have received a couple of emails from us talking about this webinar. We're glad that you've all clicked on the registration link and showed up. We promise that we're not going to bore you to death today. This is not going to be a totally product-centric webinar. We did want to get a little high level and draw some parallels to a few things that would mean something to us on a daily basis as folks working in a company and any type of business. We're all dealing with the same things, and we'll get into some of that. But here's topics that we're going to run through today. We got what's the connection between increased profits and happy customers? Yeah, it sounds pretty obvious, right? But we'll delve into that a little bit. We're going to introduce Intermedia Contact Center, just a little summary of the product. We'll talk about how you know when you need a solution like this, some common pain points we solve, a little play on the sentence there, having your cake, actually having your cloud and eating it too. And then finally, the power of contact center reports. It's at this point that I'm going to hand the controls over to my colleague, Andrew Boone here, our resident subject matter expert and guru extraordinaire, to just walk through a few things. Keep it away from my my PowerPoint mania here. So let's move on. So, like Adam started talking about this new battlefield, right? And he's very dramatic about it, and I appreciated that. It's a new battlefield, the final frontier. And you know what? It's not as dramatic as you think. And here's why, right? Companies are literally running out of ways to compete. Think about it. There are other companies out there selling what you're selling. Even if you're reselling something from a vendor or somebody, exclusive contracts are a thing of the past. So it's not like, hey, I'm the only guy that can sell this product in this geography or whatever, right? Which leads me to the next one. Regional sales areas have become swamped again because exclusivity has disappeared and you're not the only game in town. Price wars can only go so far, and you can only start one if you have a deep enough pocket. And then finally, marketing wars can be expensive. And when we talk about marketing, we could be talking about campaigns, we could be talking about lead gen, websites. Marketing campaigns could even cover things like promotional offers. It can spill right into the price wars. Again, these are things for when you have enough margin that you can play these games, right? And then customer experience is not only the new battlefield, it's the new secret sauce, right? Because it can build brand loyalty, increase customer retention. It can lead to additional sales, repeat customers. They have a good experience with you. They're going to keep coming back. They're going to tell more people about you, right? Word of mouth is the best form of advertisement. It's a direct referral. And then, of course, the data that you can pull from these systems can offer tremendous insights, and that's why Andrew's actually going to spend some time walking through some of those things. If you think about it, the contact center is the entry point to you as a business person, right? This is how your customers reach you, whether they want to buy something, whether they want to fix something, whether they want to ask about something. If you're doing a promotion, they're going to call to find out, hey, how long is this available for? This is their entry point to you. But if it's one thing I want to leave you folks with from this slide, it's this last point here. Social media makes everything public, including your customer reviews. And if some of those reviews are bad, those are going to remain on there. Now remember, for those of you who have seen the social media movie, the movie about Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, etc. I remember that scene where the girl that was breaking up with him said, "Hey, the internet is written in ink," and it's true. Those things are on there to stay until they're taken off by an administrator of some sort, and that administrator is not you or me. So those bad reviews are going to remain. So you have to do your best to create some good ones. Create enough good ones is going to cover up the bad ones, right? And it's easy to find, and you think. Just go ahead and Google your company name, and you're going to find out what the deal is, right? In most cases. So customer experience, for all these reasons, is very much one of the last tactics that a company can play to differentiate themselves. And just to leave you with some stats to back up that, right? Increasing customer retention rates by 5% can increase profits by up to 95%. And I remember when I was showing folks internally this slide, they were like, come on, Joe, is this something else you meet up again? But no, the truth is, this came from a company called Bain & Company, which is one of the largest consulting, it's a global consulting firm. And we have a link to the report down here. And we'll make this presentation available to you folks. We'll also do a little follow-up afterwards, make sure that you got what you wanted to get out of this webinar, and also to offer you, if you want to have a detailed demo, whatever the case may be, we'll engage with you after. What are the interesting things that we have in here? We have acquiring a new customer is up to 25 times more expensive than retaining an existing one. Again, I did not pull that out of a hat. That came from Harvard Business Review article. Think about that. Acquiring a new customer is up to 25 times more expensive than retaining an existing one. How about this one? 73% of consumers point to customer experience as the key factor in a purchasing decision. This is a Price Waterhouse report. Again, another global consulting and accounting firm. So you can see that we're drawing a very clear correlation between profitability and customer experience. And the last one I'm going to leave you with before you think, hey, is this whole deck going to be percentage points? This last one here, this photo is actually reminds me of Andrew when he's screaming at me because I'm talking nonsense during the day. 82% of customers stopped doing business with a company after a bad experience. We all know how this feels. That's all. That screaming person there has been us in different cases, in different instances. You may have had a poor experience with an internet service provider or your bank or a hotel, and you're going to call and you're going to scream at somebody, and you're probably not going to do business with that company again. And once again, this is not an unsubstantiated, unverified percentage. This comes from Gartner, a global research and analysis firm. So now that we've made those, made some linkages between customer experience and increased profitability, better business overall, in comes our solution, Intermediate Contact Center. Now, I just wanted to start off by saying this is a contact center solution, it's software. This is not a product where we are selling you a bunch of people to go into a room and facilitate a physical call center. We're providing you with the software that those people would use. And when you think about a call center, you might be thinking, hey, it's a 20-man thing, 50-man company, 50-person room. A contact center could be 2 people. Contact center could be 1 person. We've had companies that achieve tremendous results with less than a handful of agents. Right. So what is it we're talking about here? What's involved in this graphic and all these nice little icons? So we have this divided up into 4 quadrants, so to say. There's the agent side on the right. message that we're sending here is that your agents could be working in your office, they could be remote, they could be working from home, they could be outsourced, like in a spillover type situation. They could be subject matter experts. You could even have a whole self-service portal that's tied to this. So there's tremendous flexibility on the agent side, the customer fulfillment side, and then on the opposite side, you got the customer side. Because you're going to have people trying to reach you. This is where you have all your customers and all the different channels that they can possibly use to reach you. And in some companies, they're using all these, right? But not all of these solutions out there can facilitate what we call, or what is called, omni-channel communications. So in this case, this will allow for your customers to reach you via email, phone, web, social media, chat, mobile, right? So on top now, where we say management applications, this is some of the suites of functionality that we have that governs a lot of this. Workforce management, reporting, we have supervisor tools, QA tools and assessment, all sorts of different things. And at the bottom, when we have integrations, it's all talking about how we integrate with different platforms that are mainstream in the business world, like Salesforce, for example, like Dynamics, like Zendesk, even Slack. So it goes beyond the CRM space and into the productivity space, right? So, and again, just to follow up on this, I'm not going to spend too much time because we don't want to get too deep in the nuts and bolts here. But these are the three packages that we offer: Contact Center Express, Contact Center Pro, Contact Center Elite. 3 packages meant for 3 profiles of users, right? So Contact Center Express is our entry-level product, but by no means entry-level in terms of features. This is a tool that is completely integrated with Intermedia Unite. With literally the click of a couple of buttons or one button, and Andrew will probably show this at a later time, you will have full Contact Center Express functionality as an existing Intermedia Unite user. I mean, I'm talking instantaneous. And this thing will allow everything from, inbound voice queues, real-time graphics. Andrew will show some of the dashboards for Pro and Elite in a little bit. But this provides a level of functionality beyond what some folks would be using their PBXs or unified communications for. This is well beyond auto attendant. This is well beyond hunt groups, right? Contact Center Pro is the next level up from there. The important thing to note with Contact Center Pro and Elite is that both of those are vendor agnostic. What that means is, even if you have an existing deployment of Mitel phones or Avaya, Cisco, whatever, this will sit on top of that effortlessly, even if it's a mixed environment. And in terms of the licenses, both Pro and Elite offer they offer bursting. There are also concurrent seats, concurrent licenses, as opposed to Express, which is 1-to-1 name seat ratio. And there's the prices underneath there: $19.99 per seat for Express, $79.99 per seat for Pro, and $139.99 for Elite. I think if you were to go and start shopping around price-wise, you'll realize that the depth of features and also what's included, things like moves, ads, changes, all these different things. There's no hidden price, hidden costs. There's no hidden fees associated with any of these things. What you pay for is what you get. So some of our differentiators, this is a carrier grade solution. This is not something that's going to work today and not work tomorrow. We have very large companies using this. We have public sector government offices using this. So it has to be mission critical, and it is. The other good thing to know is that this is part of the Intermedia all-in-one business cloud. So for those who are not aware, Intermedia sells everything from Unite, unified communications, to any meeting, conferencing solutions, secure sync, secure email. There's a whole suite, and this is just part of it. Pro and Elite can be sold as a standalone. You can purchase those as a standalone, like I said, and they're vendor agnostic. Contact Center Express is fully integrated with Unite UC. There's cost certainty and flexibility. We were talking about the bursting on demand. Moves, ads, changes are included. And then finally, this solution, and this is not something a lot of people can claim. There's a lot of competition out there. We were talking about before, companies are running out of ways to compete. Our differentiator here is that we know this solution is built by industry experts who have spent decades in contact centers, spent decades in the telecom field, spent decades in IT and software. So we blend all those proficiencies together to produce this solution. It's built by people who have been in the seat of using it as on a day-to-day basis, whether it be as an agent, as a supervisor, as a director, as a QA, whatever. We've covered all the profiles because the folks in here have been in those seats before. They know how it is. So moving on to how do you need, okay, this all sounds good, but how do I know when I need something like this? Well, here's a few bullet points on that. So your existing, you may already have one. It's 2019. A lot of people already have some sort of a contact center, right? But you may need to grow, and you may need to grow because of hey, and there's some features that I don't have. There's some capabilities I'd like to offer, but I can't. My company is growing. There's a higher volume of calls that are coming in that I can't deal with. You may want to meet those types of demands, and your existing solution cannot scale. You may have customers trying to communicate with you via channels that you can't accommodate them on. It's SMS, social media, email, chat. Your online Google review scores, like we were talking about earlier, may not be terrific. And this is a way you could quickly turn that around using a solution like this and the processes and the practices that are involved with it. Your existing solution may be end of life or end of contract. You need to replace it. You're unhappy with the current with your current provider. You may already have a contact center, and you may be having some issues in terms of service or response times, lack of features. You may have reports that are not working out for you.
Joe, I'm so sorry to interrupt here. It's Adam.
Yep.
Got one report at least that some attendees can no longer see the slides. They're just seeing a black screen. We might need to
restart it.
Yeah, just pick up on slide 12. I'm so sorry to interrupt your flow there.
No, sorry, man. If you can't see it, then fix it.
I'm still seeing it okay on my side.
Anything I need to do? All right, so we're getting some feedback from some folks. Peter is seeing it. Andrew is seeing it. I'm still seeing it as well. We'll send the presentation out. We're just going to continue. Other people are bringing in contacts.
All right, could be isolated.
Okay, so let's just move on. But my apologies for whoever's not seeing it. We will make this available to you via email, and we're also going to do some follow-up after this as well to cover off anything that you may have missed or want to hear some more information on. So continuing on from where you, how do you know when you need one of these types of contact center solutions? I think we left off where we were talking about you may already have one, and you may be unhappy with your current solution for a variety of reasons. You may be facing increased competition, and you might be running out of ways to differentiate. We talked about that. And then finally, you're unable to gauge the efficiency of your current customer service team, or you're unable to leverage the data to make key decisions available, make key business decisions. Like we covered briefly in that previous slide, this tool has QA tools, it has supervisor tools, it has workforce optimization tools. There are so many tools that are built in to help you efficiently manage your agents and get the best levels of performance out of them, because of course, the better that they're able to perform, the better, higher quality service they're able to offer. Okay, so Stephen Nelson can see again. That's good news, Stephen. Appreciate that. Thanks for letting us know. All right, so let's move on. We're going to move on to common pain points that we solve. So common pain points we solve, everything that we talked about on the previous slide, obviously, but some more functional things that might resonate with you on a day-to-day basis. Missed and abandoned calls. That's a horrible thing to happen. These are people that every missed or abandoned call could represent somebody who could be buying something from you or subscribing to a service that you offer or whatever, right? Not being transferred to the right department the first time. This one is kind of related to the next one. I'm going to cover both in the same response. So key calls not being sent to key agents and frustrating customers. So we offer, one of the things that we offer is something called skills-based routing. So let's say, for example, like you heard my colleague Adam start the call. Let's say Adam was a subject matter expert on certain financial issues, right? And we're a bank, and he's a specialist in wealth management and so forth. And you have a customer calling in that has a specific question about it. They say, hey, I have a question about this investment that I read about in the newspapers, and that person gets transferred to somebody who's handling basic small business consumer loans. Well, you could see how that'd be a problem, right? Because here's this person on the other end of the phone who's calling about a wealth management issue. Hey, I want to know about this investment. And he gets put on to somebody who's saying, yes, so how can I help you out with your small business loan? So, but that's not what I'm calling about, right? So it's something like that and there's so many other examples of things like that happening. So our skills-based routing would allow that those specific calls can be routed to the people who are best able to answer them, right? Not enough insights on call traffic, volume, agency activity. What are we talking about here? So, like we said, the data that can be derived from a contact and from this, especially this contact center solution, it's staggering. It's a tsunami of data, and it's all about knowing what type of data you need to make different types of decisions, where to find that data, how to pull that data, how to interpret that data, how to present that data, right? So we'll cover that a little bit. A little bit. Not being able to scale agents in a short time span, I skipped over that one, but that's a pretty big deal. You may have companies that operate on a seasonal basis. You may have, it could be a university or a school. It could be a company that flows, and they flow with certain seasons. You may have, it could be a retail outfit, retail store that would have a tremendous spike in business during Christmas season or Thanksgiving. And then other parts of the year, it's very slow. They would need to scale on demand. They would also need to cut back on demand. This solution allows for that to happen very easily. Difficult to view stats across multiple departments, especially if some employees work out of multiple locations or remotely. There's certain industries out there, like the logistics industry, for example, or even insurance, where there's a lot of remote people working from the field, working from home, different locations, etc. Being able to pull stats on who's calling into those different locations and what type of customer interactions are being held, what types of call trends are taking place. This is all critical data that you can use to make changes in your services and your product. You could augment your roadmap, you can augment your service offering, all these different types of things from having this type of data. People calling and saying, let's say you start analyzing the data and you realize, hey, 80% of the people are calling in about the same thing. Well, it might make sense to act on something like that, right? We need to this quote is something that we hear all the time. We need to prove that we are easier to do business with than our competition. This is something we hear a lot in retail. This is something we hear a lot in the financial sector. Banks are big on this, in credit unions, etc. But even some of the businesses that you're involved in, it doesn't matter what business it is, as long as you can prove that you are easier to do business with than your competition. That's an edge that you have. That right there is a differentiator. And my customers are trying to communicate with my company via, we talked about this before, right? This is the omni-channel capabilities of the solution. There's folks that might want to communicate via chat instead of calling you via voice or social media or SMS, etc. Right? So moving on, all in the cloud. One of the emails that we sent out to you guys was about the hardware versus cloud discussion. And this is still very much a trending topic out there because there's still some misconceptions about on-prem contact center solutions being more affordable or lower cost than the cloud alternatives. This is the graphic that we have here, the whole iceberg thing going on. We've seen this type of iceberg graphic before, right? But how is it relevant to this? Well, it's relevant in this case because it's exposing all the hidden costs involved with hardware solutions, on-prem solutions, right? You have an upfront capital expense when you have to buy a hardware-based contact center. You have to allocate space for it or rack space. You have to cable that whole system together. It will take time to deploy. You're going to have technical teams that need to support it and administer it and configure it. And these are full-time technical resources. You're going to have downtime during when you need to fix issues with it, or even when you have to do some updates. And let's remember that it's hardware, so it's going to depreciate, right? On the cloud, advantages though, there's no sacrifice. So everything we just went through there in terms of disadvantages for hardware, yeah, you're not going to have any of that with the cloud solution. But you're probably thinking, okay, well, yeah, you're going to have to sacrifice quite a bit, right? Well, the answer is no. You're not sacrificing anything. In fact, you're getting more, because the feature depth that we offer is just as deep as the hardware offerings, if not more so. The upgrades are instant and they're non-intrusive, which means your network is not going to go down. Your agents are not going to have to be offline while they happen. The solution is rapidly deployable. In some cases, we have deployed alongside an existing hardware solution to do proof of concept, just to demonstrate what's possible. We offer industry-leading support. Users can be, this is a big deal here, users can be anywhere where they have an internet connection. So we talked about the remote agents and work from home stuff. You can have agents sitting anywhere with an internet connection, literally. And then, of course, it's a SaaS product, so it's a simple monthly subscription, right? Finally, we're getting down to the power of contact center reports. Right before I hand it over to Andrew Boone here, what he's going to be covering is, well, what he's going to be talking about is along the lines of how you can transform your customer experience by measuring and understanding the right metrics, right? This is how you can turn your contacts into a value generator for your company. So we talked about all the data that can be derived from this solution, and how we need to understand, what metrics to use, what metrics to evaluate agents on. Like for just as an example, historical contact center metrics with things like occupancy rates, average handle times, etc. So it almost turned the industry into a high pressure conveyor belt style of customer service. So you're on the phone with somebody, say, yeah, let me help you, blah, 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 blah. You get them off the phone as quickly as possible because you want your KPIs to look good. But when companies switched to measuring on first call resolution, those calls might be a little bit longer, but your first call resolution stat is sky high. You didn't rush the person off the phone, right? You took your time to understand the issue. You have some information on what they called about before, so you're already equipped with a profile of the person, so you're better able to resolve their problem. So switching to things like that just had immediate impact on the ability to provide a superior customer experience. So at this point now, I'm gonna stop yapping. I'm gonna hand the controls over to Andrew, and he's gonna cover these 5 topics as we talk about contact center reports. Over to you, Andrew.
All right, Joe, thanks very much, man. Appreciate it. I'm going to start with the screen share, so bear with me as I get that loaded. Adam, if you can confirm you see the monitoring page on the screen.
I do indeed.
Wunderbar. So, and a lot of what I'm going to show you guys, I promise I have no PowerPoint slides to whip out here. This is all going to be very live and obviously not interactive. But I'm just going to walk you through the sort of the 2 to 3 flavors of the product that we have, starting with our Express product. And Express in our world is it's part of our Unite product. It's embedded in it. And it's something that you can order directly through our Host Pilot application. So, as Joe pointed out, there's a really a nice tight bundle of features that come with Express that make it very useful. But for anyone that's familiar with Unite, that has this client on their desktop, you would get a little headset icon added to your Unite desktop when you become an Express agent. And in the Unite application, obviously you can see here I am not logged in. And actually nobody's logged in, which is kind of a first. But from here, obviously, you can see your agents in real time. You can actually see some reports. So we have a wallboard and some real-time dashboards. I'm just going to open up the wallboard for you. And it's all about simplicity. Call comes in, maybe you have a hunt group today, maybe you want to elevate your current hunt group into more of a queued situation where you can tell the customer their estimated wait time and position in queue. You want your calls recorded from an evaluation, maybe a prosperity sort of situation, but you can also run and look at data and reports in real time, as well as pull down sort of your historical data, which is obviously tremendously important as well. I'm just going to pull up my reports page. So a very simple but powerful product that gives you a lot of features for a very, very tight price. And as Joe mentioned, I think it was only $19.99 per actual agent, right? Per named licensed agent. So for anyone's looking for quick, fast, effective, and cost-effective, that is, right? And are good with those features. This is a fantastic product. It blows my mind that we do so much for so little. The other products I'm going to talk to you about here are really the Pro and Elite product, the new, via the new acquisition of Telax, right? Now Intermedia, we've got this wonderful CCAS product, and this one is over the top, and we prefer for it not to be. But in terms of, I could have swore I turned those alerts off. But in terms, we prefer for it obviously to be on an Elevate or Unite client. But a lot of our deployments tend to be over existing and legacy PBXs. We do a lot of Teams deployments and Skype for Business. And the way the software works is we just route the calls to the agent, to their 10-digit DID, wherever that agent is sitting. And so, if you're in a scenario where you have multiple offices with different phone systems, right, our auto attendant, advanced IVR in the cloud, so to speak, can bring all of those offices together, right? And we can create centralized queues and deliver those calls just to their DID without having to replace that phone system. And a ton of our deployments are really over those, legacy Cisco's, legacy Avaya's, where maybe the PBX functionality is rock solid, want to keep it, but we need more features, functions. Maybe we want to add chat and email and et cetera to our application. So being able to layer this over the top is a simple way to obviously up your call center game. So I'm going to sign in here and show you the agent interface. And really what you see when I sign in, and we spend a lot of time on this, really, it's all about informing agents. And our software is used a lot in remote situations where maybe the agents aren't all sitting in the same office together. We have a lot of home workers, right? That's a very popular use case these days where major conglomerates, Google or anyone else, employs workers to work from home to take call center calls. And there needs to be software and the right software in place to make that happen. And we can, obviously help sort of equalize that for you. So in the CCA, we really spend some time on, hey, this is my view, right? As an agent, I'm in all of these queues: billing, finance, support, but I'm also in an email queue. For tickets, I'm also in a chat queue, right? I can see if there's calls waiting and the longest interaction sitting in my queues, and if there's also any other agents logged in and available. And the whole application uses the status indicator here to inform us who's available. So we know in a millisecond, when a call hits our auto attendant, we know all of the agents that are logged in, who has the right skills, as Joe indicated, and we route that call directly to that agent. There's no need to wait. There's no need to hunt. We know who it is. When there's no agents available, that's when we queue a call, right? And so the same kind of queue treatments I just mentioned, estimated wait time, positioning queue, callback options or virtual hold, right? And these are great ways to get rid of abandoned calls. One of the things Joe mentioned. I mean, if you don't force your customers to wait more than a couple of minutes, they generally won't abandon, right? Give them an option for a callback or maybe a DQ to a voicemail or some other channel, and you've improved your customer experience. The other side of the coin, as Joe mentioned, I mean, if 70+% of your costs in your call center are people, and your goal is to reduce your costs in your call center, maybe instead of, some folks look at it as a profit center, some folks look at it as a cost center. I get it. We can help you reduce those costs, right? And a lot of that is through automation. A lot of that is through advanced queuing and self-serve IVRs, and just really reducing the number of bodies that you actually need to, to use to answer the phones. And we, in order to sort of help you with that, we use data. So I'm going to call my IVR. I'll put it on speaker. This is just a silly demo IVR. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hit Q, take that off speaker. That was pretty annoying. Actually, I'm going to hit Q2, and I put myself on break. So this call is actually going to go in the queue. And you can hear my music in the background here. The call is queued. There's a bunch of comfort messages that are going to happen. There's prompts. And you really control on the fly. We give you a whole prompt file interface where you can upload, change prompts on the fly at any given time. Your callback options, et cetera. So as an agent, I'm the only person logged in, and I'm just doing this to show you, but that financial aid call has been sitting now for 19 seconds. So as an agent, I know, right, that call is sitting there, even though I'm on break. And in a couple of seconds more, it's actually going to turn red. And we do that to alert agents when a call sits too long. And that's really something that's reflective of your own metrics, obviously. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit available, and I'm going to get the call on my Unite client. There's a few things coming. Obviously, I have an alert there as well. Bear with me. I'm going to mute that call. There we go. So a couple things happened, and I'm going to just minimize my Salesforce integration. I just want to talk about the application first. So even though this piece here isn't the phone, we use this to manage the call, right? The CCA. And, this call came in on financial aid. There's my cell phone caller ID information, and From here, we just recommend that the agents and almost insist really, use this interface to interact with the calls, because every click I make generates an activity, a report, something you can track, right? So just putting that customer on hold for 3 seconds is going to generate an activity. Really important, and this goes right to what Joe was suggesting about right department, right agent, first try. Occasionally though, you will have to transfer calls, right? Maybe you're working from home and you got a call on the financial aid queue. Imagine that, and you find out this is a support call. Well, the direct to queue transfer interface allows you to transfer calls right into the queue. It even tells you if there's calls sitting in the queue, and obviously if there's any agents available. So you can be very informative when you make that transfer. The other thing that we use to again help up that CSAT game is surveys. Sometimes it's just a matter of asking our customers what's going on. How do you feel about us today? So we use survey IVRs. We give them to you to measure CSAT scores or Net Promoter Scores. And these things are really informative to obviously take a temperature check around, how my customers feel about me and where I need to improve. And the last little piece in here, and I have an option for it in my demo, but there's payment IVRs, and this is a really big deal. And this, for folks that are taking credit cards over the phone, we all know that it exists, and hopefully no one on this call is. But if you do have that situation, we can help you, right? We can build you a payment IVR so an agent never needs to take a credit card again. Or hey, if you're worried about the screen and the audio being recorded while the agent is taking the credit card, well, obviously we can do a manual stop start, but we even have open APIs to auto stop and start sort of CRM, the application, so that you're not recording that information on the fly. And then in the background here, guys, I'm just going to wrap this up. CRM integration. And this is really important, again, right along the lines of first call resolution, because we can use the CRM not just to open up the account that matches the customer's phone number, but that is a nice bonus, right? And I'm sure you guys saw that as the call was coming in. This is what opened up in real time. So I knew that I was talking to this person, and I could even scroll down and get some notes, etc. But also using the CRM or any platform, EMR, ERP, SQL database, whatever the scenario is, using that to inform us, hey, this is a VIP customer, put them at the top of the queue. Or hey, maybe this customer's in collections, let's send them off to the finance department. So we can use your CRM as long as there's a REST API for us to tap into. That's the only requirement. We can make really cool things happen from an integration standpoint. And then the last thing that I'm going to show you here, and Joe sort of alluded to this, but it's all about collecting data with this application, right? So we have this little tool, and I'm going to click on it to open it up, but this would actually pop up for the agents automatically at the end of a call. We call it a classification. Some of you folks listening might have heard, the term disposition code, wrap-up code, familiar terms, and it's all about, hey, Mr. Agent, what happened on that call? What was the outcome? So I'm going to make one up here, but the idea is, hey, this guy maybe called in our patient care line. The customer was interested in talking about an overdue bill, and the payment was made. Now, I know that doesn't really match the queue, obviously, but let's use our imaginations. I mean, the idea is any field here is editable, created by you. Obviously, you can create your own sort of outcomes, and then we append all of this data to the call record. So when you run a report against patient care or financial aid, you can get the outcomes in real time as well. And not only that, we will actually tag all of this information onto the call recording. So you can use it not only to just find and listen to particular calls, but even to find and assign calls to a quality management type person. You might want to listen to this based on this criteria. The other thing is the notes section. Very effective because it's free form and it is searchable. So anything that's typed in notes can also be used to generate reports, keywords, things like that. So it gets very, very powerful. Then of course the outcome is now we don't just have a holistic view of who that customer is and where they called from and what number they dialed, but we also know who they spoke to, how long they talked, and what the outcome of the call was. And if we're really proactive, we'll even add a CSAT score to this record because the customer is going to complete a survey. And so now you've really closed the circle, right, in terms of that customer experience. I'm going to hit end on the call. I know I have a really limited time here today, and Joe talked for about 15 minutes over his time. So I'm going to move on to some of the dashboards and the monitor pages. But, obviously, if you guys want to see more from this, and if you guys want to, do a deeper dive for your specific use cases, speak to your intermediate rep, and we can obviously tee something up for you. So dashboards, wallboards, monitor pages. Really interesting differentiator with Pro and Elite. And it's different from Express because we talked about Express being named agents, right? Which means every agent needs their own unique license. In our system, every agent gets their own unique license as well. And that's a good thing because we want every agent to have their own specific set of skills that's unique to them or unique to their team. And everybody should have their own profile because when you run a report, mean, who cares if it's agent 87934, right? Like, you want to know that it was Adam that took that call, and it was Adam that was responsible for the outcome, and not agent 86794. And that named agent licensing scheme, is obviously difficult to maintain, et cetera. So we're all about concurrent agent logins. And it's really about how many people log into this CCA throughout the month and take a call, your high watermark. And we'll cap it at that. If you want 20 seats, you got 20 seats. But as Joe indicated, we also have bursting on demand, which is, by the way, non-existent as far as I can tell in the CCAS space. So let's just say you have 20 agents, but you're going to need an extra 5 or 6 to log in over the Christmas holidays. Well, instead of having to go out and order those licenses, you can just log them in. Pay for the extra seats at the same rate you pay for a regular seat. We bill you for the extra usage, and then of course it goes back to your, whatever your committed seat count is. So during the ebbs and flows of throughout your year in your contact center, you can just add seats on demand. It doesn't cost anything extra. It's legitimate bursting, and obviously gives you a little bit of flexibility as well as cost certainty, right? Which is something we strive for. So why am I telling you all this now? It's a good question. The reason I'm mentioning it is that because there's licensing scheme really reflects agents that log in to take calls, we don't have a license for anyone that wants to log into our portals and access things like reports or call recordings or the dashboards, et cetera. And this is just one of my landing pages. And I kind of, I've created a little favorite section here on my landing page so I can kind of interact with the certain objects that I prefer to interact with on a regular basis. So this is somewhat customizable to your own user profile. But every single user that logs in here is going to have a different level of access depending on who they are. If you made me an agent and I logged in here, I would only be able to access my profile, maybe update my password, and even possibly download the version of the software, all the way up to an administrator where they can do everything. So no license required to access all the web pages, which means you can run as many different versions of the dashboard, the executive dashboard, the monitor page, and even the metrics dashboard that you want. And what we often see in this scenario is there's always 1, 2, 3, 40 different teams, right? And each team has its own metrics, its own KPIs, right? Their own OKRs. I'm throwing out 3-letter acronyms like it's going out of style. But the idea is, if that's the case, each individual team leader can have their own custom version of these wallboards and dashboards that will be used to reflect their metrics specific to their own needs. And I mentioned that in the dashboard, this one in particular, the metrics, you can adjust those tiles, but it isn't interactive. It really truly is just a visual reference. So I couldn't click on the longest talk time or any of these tiles and be taken anywhere, but I can use them as a visual reference. And you'll see over here we have real-time data on the left. You have your cumulative data on the right. Same thing down below with teams, right? Real-time and cumulative, and obviously, your thresholds will reflect your own conditions. The executive is very similar, not to spend too much time on this, but this happens to be one of my favorites. You can see everything in a millisecond, including, some threshold alerts programmed in those boxes as well that'll pick up your queues and whatnot. And then this monitor page, and again, this one becomes very important. And, when we talk about managing in real time, we have the whole concept of, I can see all of my queues and I can see all of my agents that are logged in. I can even interact with calls and agents in real time. So if there's a call sitting in tech support here, for example, I could click on it and reroute it or delete it or do anything I wanted to it. Even, chats and emails have that functionality. But the biggest thing is being able to see your agents. So I can see, obviously this is just our little demo account, but I can see every agent logged in. I can see how long they've been logged in, all of their stats for the day. And I love the little feature here, and I'll pick on Gary because he's easy to pick on, but his status is red. He's on break for 15 minutes. And if I hover over that duration, it says we expect break to be 3 minutes. That's the condition that we've set. So, Gary's clearly gone on a longer break than we expect, and it turned this condition red. Nothing bad is going to happen to Gary. Well, actually, I can't honestly say that, but nothing physical is going to happen to Gary. But when he looks at his version of the CCA, it's going to have his indicator red, and anyone else that's looking obviously at this monitor will see that Gary is red. So it's just a little way to set threshold alerts and publicly shame our agents into staying alert and on task. And the big thing in here from the monitoring perspective is literally the live monitoring tool, and this is obviously something that everybody requests. The one thing about it that's unique, you might have a scenario where you have agents in a disaster, in a snowstorm, logging in, taking calls at home on their cell phone. And that's fine, right? In an emergency, why not? This application you can log in with your cell phone number, and the system will call you, and you're silently listening to that agent on their cell phone, right? And the customer, and you can still, using coaching, whisper in the agent's ear or even barge in and remove them from the call, regardless of what phone numbers you guys are all using. So we don't lose any functionality being an over-the-top solution, or maybe you have 3 different locations all on 3 different phone systems. We can still, again, bring them all together. So those are the admin sort of managing in real time features. I'm just going to pop out of here now and show you guys just another piece of the application. I'm logging into another account, so apologies for jumping around. But again, everything in here profile based, right? And the reason I show so many of these little features is really to demonstrate to you, these are things that you do on your own, right? You don't need to call us at 2 in the morning when there's a snowstorm at one of your locations to say, hey, my office is going to be closed today because there's a crazy snowstorm. Can you help update my messaging or my prompt, right? We give you these bulletins that you can pre-record, and it takes a millisecond to activate an emergency message inside the queue. And it's really simple, right? Like, I mean, maybe you have a stormy day. Oops, maybe you have an application that's down, so you can't take payments. Or maybe you're having some sort of outage and there's a longer than average call time. Just, you have the message record, pop in here, insert it at any point in the call flow. And the feature I like about this is when you play the bulletin, and I don't know, for folks that are on the call that are call center people, you have 4 options in what to do with that call. I mean, sometimes we just want to let the call through, right? Obviously, hey, Mr. Customer, just beware, right? There's going to be a longer wait. But sometimes you just want to terminate the call, and we all know what that is. Or if you do have a backup call center, or maybe one of your locations is offline, you just want the calls to go to another, you can just transfer the call. And you can even do this without an actual bulletin, without recording one. So if you wanted to just automatically set up a transfer, you could insert a blank bulletin here. It's kind of a neat trick. So all of these things, the post-call survey, updating your prompt files, creating I'm going to get to this, but creating a custom evaluation, right, for your agents, or even those classifications at the end of the call. It's very simple for you to come in and edit them, obviously update them and make them available. So what I'm trying to get across here is the level of customization and functionality you're going to have access to. So really 2 last quick sections. I'm going to talk recordings really quick. We record everything in our application. So all your voice calls can be recorded. We can even do screen recording and chat and email recording, of course. And we store everything in the cloud, like an Amazon or an Azure. And we'll encrypt everything and make it available for you to either download or stream for a time-based period. We're usually standard 30-day retention, but we can extend that pretty easily as long as you need, and some other long-term options. But the cool feature here is this GUI. So when you come in, you want to find a call, you obviously come to the search GUI, search for type of call, date range, number, name, queue, caller ID. You could also use that classification data, right? Give me all the people that called in on my patient care line. And what you get are 3 options. And obviously you guys have the decision which ones you want to choose, but you get a listen option, which is audio recording. And I'm going to show you how that looks. And this is the call we took, by the way. So you can see that, all of my classification data has been included in here. So I can click listen. I get a little audio file streaming in my ear. That's annoying, so I'm going to mute that. But obviously, I can stream this. There is a download option, which just creates a little MP3 if you want that. The watch option goes over really well because it gives managers and supervisors the ability, and I'm actually shocked that that's available so quick. And this is, again, the call that we just took, but it gives you the ability to watch what the agent was doing while they were on the call. This is a terrifying feature, and I'm telling you guys that as potential end clients, right? I mean, if I'm an agent and on my first day at work, you show me this, I'm either going to quit or be the best agent you've ever hired, right? But it really gives you the ability, obviously, to watch what the agents are doing. So in this scenario, we've recorded the call on the screen as well, uploaded it to the cloud, and then when I downloaded it, it stitched it to the audio, so I'm able to watch and listen at the same time. And then my favorite feature here is this evaluation tool, and it's very simple. If you guys are into QA, quality assurance, quality monitoring, if you're supporting external clients and they want to have the ability to listen to calls, you can create an infinite number of evaluation forms, right? I'm just going to start one because I've made one up here. You get a little bit of information about the call in the interface, right? So there's our call again. Notes are awesome, and you get a media player, which deviates a little bit from our other media player because it gives you the ability. And again, I don't know if you guys would do this, but it gives you the ability to annotate the file for the agent, right? And the use case is after the evaluation is done, mark it complete, agent gets notified, and they get this file. And then they're going to be able to see what you wrote about them in the call. And I'm always 50-50, whether it's positive feedback or negative feedback, but I stick to the positive. So let's just say we told our agent they were great, which would never happen. When I get this file, I can click where you said that, and it goes right to that point in the file. So it really helps you close the feedback loop when it comes to these evaluations, right? We will keep this piece for your retention period, and obviously we keep the reports data in perpetuity. So as long as you're a customer, you can go back and run reports. And which brings me, in fact, to the very, very last thing I'm going to talk about, which is reports. And obviously, again, guys, I've left a lot of things on the table here. There are so many features and functions we could be talking about, but we got to keep it tight. So on the report side, very simple talk track. The last count, we had 4,791 reports in the library, and that grows every day. And these are all canned reports that can be not only run by anybody, but can be scheduled by anybody and exported and shared. And typically during the onboarding process, we wouldn't unlock all of those reports. It's somewhat terrifying and mean, but we do work with the customer, right? And just, hey, what do you need? What reports do you need? What reports do you have today that you want us to replicate? We unlock what you need, and then some, obviously, with recommendations along the way. But we're also, if needed, building you any custom reports that you might need as well. And it's a very simple process. We sit with you, you mock up the report, we get it built, we add it to your custom tab, and then you have your free custom report. So we're very generous with reports. We really do. It's a differentiator for us. I mean, it's great that we can queue a call and tee up a call back, but if we can't show it to you on a report, right, did it really happen? So we really put a high value on it. And just to kind of give you a quick flavor of reports, I'm just going to go to, and actually before I do that, I should just give you a little overview. But we have, your general section, your queue section of reports. So daily, weekly, monthly, yearly summaries, right? 15, 30, 60, 90-minute intervals. Same thing with agents. And there's even a special report, and I think I heard Joe sort of alluding to this earlier, and I think I run it yesterday. I'm going to pull it up. I call it full call details, but maybe you want to track, no, I don't have it in here. Awesome. I'm going to run it. But sometimes you want to track what happened to a customer, right? When they called me, I used to run a small call center, and I would always get the customer that say, I've been on hold for 3 hours and nobody's called me back. And that's my complaining old man voice. Sorry. But the idea is people complain, right? And you often know that it's not true. We in our bones, we know nobody was on hold for 3 hours, but this customer insists. And this silly little full call details report, and I sometimes call it the customer journey report because it actually gives you a lot of data. The thing you can look up is your phone number. This is my cell phone. I always call in from this phone number. And so I'm just going to execute this report and show you, and then we can move on from there. But it really shows me every single interaction from that phone number with all of my IVRs for that time period. But it doesn't just show me the interaction. It shows me the entire leg of the interaction. So I'm going to zoom this in a little bit, and I promise this will be the last thing. But let's focus on the top line here, right? So on 11/4, I called from my phone in Ontario to this IVR. That's my phone number, the Venus, at 11:14. The name of the IVR was Andrew's Awesome IVR. I hit the financial aid queue. Agent answered the phone right away, so there's no failed attempts. Team name, agent name, username, which are very important from a reporting perspective, all displayed, my DID, which, hey, it could be different, right? If it was a bad call, maybe I was on my cell phone. These are important little things. We give you the call stats, so answer, waiting, hold, call time, the total talk time. So you can see that, I push the hold button quickly, and that's what it reflects it. But we keep going after that. Because we're holding and recording this call, we can tell you if it's been transferred, what number or queue it got transferred to, and then what happened after that. Because, of course, we're still holding and recording it. Did the call continue? What was the total time? And then, of course, we're adding in the classification data as well, right? So this is a patient care call, wanted information about the alcohol and drug rehab program. And then, of course, and I mentioned this, throw in a CSAT score with a smiley happy face at the end, and you've just, created a really, really, really powerful report. So, I mean, obviously, we're very generous with reports. And when you see a bit of the art of the possible here in terms of these are the kinds of things that you can track. And obviously, you guys find this semi-interesting. Please book some time with your intermediate sales rep for a deeper dive. I appreciate that. I'm going to pass it back to you now, Joe. Thank you, sir.
Everybody here still? Everybody alive? Everybody awake? All right. So, Adam, do we have any questions from the folks?
Yeah, Joe. It looks like we've got a few here. Obviously, what do we got? 4 minutes to go. All right. I guess let's go through as many as we can.
Let's grab a few.
Yeah. I will read each one, and I guess either one of you, or if you want to tag team it, can kind of take them, and we'll just go in sequence. And I'm paraphrasing a bit. I'm just going based on what's been collected. So, yeah, first call resolution. I imagine we've all been pretty well exposed to that term. Do you have maybe a couple tips for how to empower agents and structure teams so that agents have a better chance at getting resolution on that first call?
Yeah, I mean, empowering agents is number one. If your agent needs to get an approval for a $1.25 credit, there's no first call resolution. But if you give your agents the empower to solve the problem, that's number one. Number two, that's a great one, workforce scheduling tool someone posted. But using the CRM or the skill-based routing schema that we're going to set up with you for your agents will put the best agents at the front of the line, depending on the skill. And we can do that based on the number they dialed, the DNIS. So, they dial this number, you go into this skill, they dial this number, goes to another, or we could just use the IVR selection. The devilish way to do it though is the CRM. You got a case, and Google does this, by the way, guys, and I mention them all the time because they're one of my favorite customers, but they have a prompt on their IVR. Hey, Mr. Customer, put in your ticket number. And then we take that ticket and we actually route the call, or at least we try, to the agent that took the ticket originally through the CRM. And when that agent isn't available, we just send it to the next available based on Google's algorithms. And those sorts of little things encourage and help bring you to first call resolution.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. Quick one on social media. That's obvious. That came up a couple times in the presentation here and there. What roughly would an agent see when an inquiry comes in via, I don't know, let's say Facebook?
Yeah, and so we have email queues, and those are kind of catch-all queues. We use them for a lot of different things. We don't actually have a full deep dive Facebook, Twitter, Instagram integration, but someone posts on your Facebook feed, it generates an email alert that, we do it internally, hits our Facebook queue, and then somebody, obviously the people in there are tasked with the response somehow. But we use the emails just for alerts. And if you take that further, those same email queues used for alerts can also be used for voicemail queues, right, to alert you for that and other scenarios that you would typically be alerted for over email, right?
Nice. Appreciate that. Let's switch. I've got a few more, but Donald's got a couple that have come in. It looks like he was asking about WFM. What do scheduling tools look like?
Yeah, in our Elite, we have Scheduling Manager. We used to call it WFM Lite, but Scheduling Manager is more appropriate, where it imports all agents' profiles, users, their schedule, posts it publicly so agents can look at it. There's a shift trading tool. There's custom reports to integrate with your payment system. There's even a real-time adherence monitor, and that's it. There is no, however, scheduling Erlang C forecasting piece to that scheduling tool. So if you're looking to forecast, hey, based on my historical data, how many agents will I need in 2021 at this time, it doesn't do that, although it does do a great job at everything else. So everything short of forecasting. No analytics for call recording. I'm just reading the question, if that's okay, Adam.
Oh, yeah,
since we got Donald going, but no, we don't have speech analytics. We use other tools to flag, and we use those classifications called, a whole bunch of other features to flag and tag calls that should be listened to, but no actual analytics. Although we do have third-party integrations with two analytics partners, CSI World and CallMiner, should somebody need that as a sort of as an add-on. But typically, we found we've been able to overcome it with our evaluator. And Salesforce, is that Salesforce API screen pop integration difficulties? I think that's what you're asking. If it's not, let me know. But we don't have any issues with Salesforce. We use it natively. So not only can I do screen pop and make routing decisions with Salesforce, but I can also click the dial out of Salesforce. Classic, that is. Lightning is, we're working on that. So that same functionality actually applies to any CRM, Dynamics, Zendesk. We've got one customer who had an SQL database from the 90s, and they just put it in AWS and made it available for us so that we could do data dips, right? I mean, anything is possible as long as the customer, you guys, are able to provide us with the access, right? The APIs to do dips. And for the record, as long as those APIs are part of the equation and we don't have to develop anything, we don't even charge professional services for these custom integrations.
Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate that. And I guess we've just gone slightly over this. Good timing. Listen, thanks so much, both you guys, Joe and Andrew, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. I've been here a while now, but I still learn something new every time I attend these sessions. It's a great problem for me. I hope everybody here today has had the exact same problem. And we will be, this session was recorded, so we will be posting it. Just need a little time to edit it. You know how that goes. And we'll be making it available very soon. So listen, thanks everyone again for your time. Really appreciate it. Thanks to our team. And we look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.